In 2015, two men founded a company to protect humanity from artificial intelligence, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. 11 years later, one of them dragged the other into a federal courtroom, accusing him of stealing a charity. This is the story of how the friendship that created OpenAI became the most personal war in all of tech. $40 million, a broken promise, and a verdict that satisfied no one. This is Artificial Empires. It began, strangely enough, out of fear. Elon Musk had become convinced that unchecked AI could end humanity. So in 2015, he teamed up with a young, soft-spoken startup guru named Sam Altman. Together with Greg Brockman, they created OpenAI, a non-profit with a mission that sounded almost noble: build safe AI and give it to the world. Not for profit, not for shareholders, for humanity. Open, transparent, and safe. And Musk put his money where his fear was. Over the following years, he reportedly donated around $38 million. He wasn't just a co-founder, he was the fuel. Without Musk's money and his name, OpenAI might never have existed at all. To understand the fear, remember the moment. Google had just bought DeepMind. The race to build a mind smarter than ours had begun, and almost no one was watching the danger. Musk had called AI humanity's biggest existential threat. Summoning the demon, he once said. OpenAI was meant to be the counterweight. The founders pledged $1 billion to the cause. On paper, it was the most idealistic project in the history of Silicon Valley. But two men who both need to be in charge rarely stay partners for long. By 2018, Musk reportedly wanted more. Control of OpenAI itself. Some accounts say he pushed to fold it into Tesla. The board said no. And Musk walked away, taking his money and his name with him. The private emails would later reveal the tension. Musk pushing for control, the others resisting. A partnership already cracking behind the scenes. By the time he left, the friendship that started it all had curdled into something closer to rivalry. On his way out, he reportedly warned them. Without him, OpenAI had almost no chance of surviving against Google. He was wrong, and what happened next made him look very wrong indeed. In 2019, OpenAI did the unthinkable for a charity. It created a for-profit arm. Microsoft poured in billions. The open non-profit lab quietly became one of the most valuable and most secretive companies on Earth. The structure was clever. A capped profit company tucked inside the non-profit. Investors could get rich, they said, but only up to a limit. Critics called it a fig leaf, a charity in name, a juggernaut in practice. By 2026, that once tiny non-profit was valued near $1 trillion. The idealistic dream had become the biggest business story on the planet. The model stopped being open. The promise of transparency faded into the background. Then came ChatGPT, and OpenAI didn't just survive without Musk. It became the defining company of the entire age. For Musk, it must have been unbearable. The charity he funded to save humanity had become the most powerful startup in history, and he owned none of it. Every headline about ChatGPT, every billion-dollar round, landed like a personal insult to the man who had walked away. So Elon Musk did what Elon Musk does. He sued. His accusation was explosive. That Altman and Brockman had, in his lawyer's words, stolen a charity. The claim: they took a non-profit, funded by his millions to benefit the world, and turned it into a machine for their own private profit. They abandoned the open-source promise. They deprioritized safety. They betrayed, he argued, the founding deal itself. And then there were the emails, years of private messages between the founders, dragged into the light. They showed the idealism of the early days, and they showed something messier. A Musk who, by OpenAI's account, had wanted control and a for-profit structure himself. That is the paradox at the heart of the case. The emails suggest both sides may have wanted, at some point, the very thing they now accuse each other of. Musk's lawyers framed it as fraud. OpenAI's framed it as sour grapes. The jury would have to decide which story to believe. OpenAI's defense was brutal in its simplicity. Musk isn't a betrayed founder. He's a competitor with a grudge, because by now, Musk had built his own AI company, xAI, and its chatbot, Grok, to fight OpenAI head-to-head. He had struck back the only way he knew how. He built a competitor and pointed it straight at OpenAI. He hired away talent. He trained Grok on the fire hose of X, and he turned every product launch into another round of the feud. The man suing OpenAI for betraying the mission was now racing it for the very same prize. In 2026, it all went to a jury in a federal courtroom in Oakland, California. For weeks, the origin story of modern AI was put on trial. Founders, emails, and billions of dollars picked apart in front of 12 strangers. Altman testified. Brockman testified. Even Musk took the stand, under oath, forced to defend the story he had told for years. For a few weeks, a courtroom in Oakland became the center of the entire technology world. Reporters packed the benches. Every witness, every email, every contradiction replayed for a global audience. Was it a betrayal, a charity, stolen, or just two ambitious men who fell out and one who couldn't let go? The jury reached a verdict, and it was an anticlimax almost no one saw coming. They didn't rule on whether OpenAI betrayed its mission. They never even got that far. Instead, the jury found that Musk had simply waited too long to sue. His claims were past the legal deadline, a statute of limitations, a calendar. The biggest question in artificial intelligence, decided not on right or wrong, but on timing. Musk lost, and he was furious. He called it a calendar technicality and immediately vowed to appeal. And maybe that's the most honest ending this story could have had, because the trial was never really about a legal deadline. It was about a much bigger question that no court is built to answer. Who should control the most powerful technology ever built? A non-profit? A corporation? A single billionaire? Musk's fear was that AI was too dangerous to be left to a profit-driven company. And then he built one of his own. OpenAI's promise was to be open and safe. And then it became closed and colossal. Both men said they were protecting humanity. Both men ended up building empires. It is the oldest story in the world, retold in Silicon. Two allies, one dream, and a falling out that turns partners into enemies. Except this time, the prize isn't a throne or a country. It is the machine that may soon think for all of us. The lawsuit is over, for now. The appeal is coming. And the race between them only gets faster. The verdict decided who filed on time. It decided nothing about who was right. And in a way, that is the perfect metaphor for this entire era. We are moving faster than our courts, our laws, and our founders can agree on the rules. The people who built the future are still arguing over who it belongs to, and the rest of us are just along for the ride. The friendship that built OpenAI is gone. What replaced it is a war that may decide who owns the future. There are no clean heroes here. A man who warned the world about dangerous AI, then built his own. A company that promised openness, then locked the doors. Musk's Grok and OpenAI's models now battle for every user, every dollar, every headline. The appeal could drag on for years, and by the time it's decided, the technology at its center may have changed the world beyond recognition. Because whoever controls OpenAI doesn't just control a company. They may steer the most transformative technology in human history. That was the real prize, not the 38 million, not the damages, the steering wheel of the future. The deeper truth is uncomfortable. The systems meant to govern world-changing technology may be too slow and too blunt to keep up with it. A jury of 12, a statute of limitations, standing against a force reshaping the entire global economy. One founder walked away and built a rival. The other stayed and built an empire. Neither has stopped fighting since. Two founders, one charity, a $1 trillion prize, and a courtroom that couldn't settle any of it. This is artificial empires, the stories behind the money, the power, and the machines. If you want to know who wins the war for AI, subscribe. Because this fight isn't over. It's just moving to the next courtroom.